Welcome back to the Med to Be. Today I have the newly minted Dr. Inaho, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, Ovie. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great.
Awesome. Happy to have you. Congratulations on securing the big MD. How do you feel?
It feels amazing, honestly. When you're working for some towards something for so long, to finally get there, it's like sometimes it's just surreal. So yeah, it's just a great feeling.
That's so cool. I'm so happy for you. I'm sure people are so proud and you're just really basking in the win of this moment. Let us go back to the beginning of your journey before you got into med school, before maybe even before college. What was that like for you? Why did you decide to become an MD and what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, so my journey into medicine wasn't like the straight and narrow. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. Throughout most of college, I thought I wanted to pursue a different healthcare field than like physical therapy. So I went and got my exercise science degree, BS from Rutgers University, New Brunswick. And I was planning on pursuing physical therapy up until actually my senior year of college, when I decided to make a pivot into to pre med. I did that because I began working in the hospital. I began seeing medicine practice, by residents, med students, attendings, things like that. I was working as a physical therapy aide at the time, and it was really cool being able to get patients up, moving within the hospital. But I also kind of wanted to understand, more of the pathophysiology that they were experiencing, the physiology and the treatment modalities. And I knew that med school would be the ultimately the best way to go about doing that in a clinical manner. So yeah, I ultimately spoke to some people, spoke to some mentors. It also took seeing people like me doing medicine to know that this is something that is possible. So that was another big factor in my decision to switch. And thankfully, I was able to make that decision, and once I did, I didn't look back. So
That's so cool. That is so awesome. And the determination, the early mindset definitely paid off because you are here now. And
yeah,
it's wonderful to have the dream of becoming an MD or becoming the many things that you are outside of being a doctor. But I want
yeah,
to talk about again turning a dream into a vision, turning a dream into actions. Rather, we have the mindset, we have the grit and the rigor and all those words that we use in essays and stuff like that. But what were the practical actions you took once you realized in senior year that you wanted to become an MD? What was the application process like for you? And like, how many times did you take the MCAT? How many gap years did you take? And what was that time like for you?
yeah. So at the time when I decided to switch to medicine, it was my senior year. So technically, it was like my fifth year. So I was doing like a one extra semester for the fall. So I walked in that spring of 2016, and I stayed for one extra semester for a few credits in the fall. And that was actually a semester that I decided to switch. So technically after that, I graduated in December of that year. Officially was done with undergrad, and I had already decided at that point that I wanted to switch to medicine. I knew that I at that time didn't have the grades, so I knew I would either have to do additional schooling through like an official master's program or do something like a post bat, um, program where I can get my grades a little higher and get more competitive. I also needed to take a couple of prerequisite courses, for med to, in order to apply to med school, and then of course the big beast, the MCAT. I had to at some point take that. Um, so that you were standing in between me and beginning medical school. So I kind of just took it one by one. I started with the prereq courses. There were a couple that I needed to take, like orgo, biochem, overlapped with pre-physical therapy, so I was fine with like the basic biology and chemistry. But those two I needed to take, so I took those, and I also enrolled in a master's program at Rowan University, the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences. And yeah, so I did that. So I used that to kind of get my grades up. I knew that this was kind of like a second chance for me to kind of really show medical committees what I can do. I always knew that I was capable, but I knew that applying myself versus just kind of relying on my natural abilities or intelligence. But you need both. You need the hard work and also like the talent there. So I try to really apply myself, and exhaust my resources, because one thing I came to realize is that it's hard to really course correct if you're giving it your all as far as your effort, because if you if you're not seeing results that you want, it could be your effort or it could be your method, but you can't tell if your effort is not 100%. So I made sure that I didn't leave anything on the table once I started that master's program, and I was able to do well on that, thank God. And then the first summer after the master's program, it was a 2-year program. That's when I started preparing for the MCAT. And yeah, so it was a 3-month prep process. I did self study. I actually started using Anki the spring semester of my first year in the master's program, and I used Anki to kind of propel me into studying for the MCAT, getting content reviewing with that, UWorld, and all the other MCAT resources. By the grace of God, I was able to take the MCAT and perform well on it. And it was that same summer, so that's how things unfolded for me.
That's great. That's great. And I think one thing that you said that has stuck out to me, I think you said like 5 minutes ago, was I always knew I was capable. And I love that. I love that you knew you had that internal locus of focus and of control and belief that you knew that you could do it. You had the determination, you had the mindset, and you put in the hard work. And thankfully everything came to fruition. Like again, by God's grace. And you did that. You did that. So what was your experience like in med school? Did you enjoy it? And were you able to find moments of like balance and moments of like enjoyment? Were you able to live your best life while in med school? Is that possible?
Yeah, we could dive into all of that. So med school was interesting. I think that it was a journey of highs and lows, and I think that the biggest singular piece of advice that someone should have coming in is to be adaptable. Having that versatility and adaptability is going to be crucial throughout the process. You come in as a first year medical student, bright eyed and wide eyed and bushy tailed, ready to hit the ground running. Med school, like, it smacks you because there's just so much information. You get overloaded with information. They use the analogy drinking out of a fire hose, and it's somewhat true because there's just so much information and there's only a limited finite amount of time to ingest that information. So the first couple of months is a significant transition period for most students, myself included. Once I started to get the hang of it, then I decided to like start to find that work life balance. Things that were important to me were like being able to go to the gym and see friends, see family, things like that, and do things and do social activities as well when I had the time. So I slowly started to incorporate that stuff in like towards the end of my first semester of med school. But for those first couple of months, I was really locked in, just trying to know how I wanted to approach studying and really balancing the school work and the load. And it's not just the actual study materials itself. These medical schools also teach you how to become a doctor. So there's a lot of adjunct or supplementary like courses mixed in. I think that once you start med school, it's important to like get your bearings and then eventually start to get your work life balance in order. I think the first semester at my school was pretty tough with foundations. Things got better once you got into the systems, when you learn about the different body systems. Essentially, in med school, the first 2 years, you're just learning about everything. And then the last 2 years, that's when you're like doing your rotations in the hospital and things like that. So each system is different. And you may have exams every 2 to 3 weeks, things like that. So when it's an exam week or an exam's coming up, you know that, locked in or and things like that. But in between that time, maybe after an exam, especially if we had a Friday exam and you had like a weekend off with no lectures to catch up on or anything, then that was a golden opportunity to do more social activities with either classmates or your friends or family, and kind of like take a breather. I think it's important to like strike that balance because med school is long. 4 years is a long time, and
Yeah.
it's a long time to like kind of like cut yourself off from everything. So it's important to find that balance. And for me, I always noticed that you being able to do those things and come back to the work, I was able to come back feeling rejuvenated.
Mhm.
So I think that it is important to find that balance, but of course, knowing that school is first, here for a reason, and you want to perform well. Um, so so yeah.
I like that you said after you were able to pour into yourself and to do those things that gave you joy, you came back feeling rejuvenated. But I also really like the transparency. Like at the beginning, you really did have to focus and buckle down and focus on what you came to do. You really did have to read your books. It wasn't really, yeah. But once you found that balance, you were able to pour into yourself, which I think is very important because we work very hard. Medical students work very hard. They commit a lot of hours to the books.
Mm.
Sometimes you feel like you're sacrificing. That's a thing that people often talk about a lot, and people are afraid of, is sacrificing your time, sacrificing your 20s, sacrificing enjoyment is a lot of sacrifice, so it's good to hear that you're honest about, yeah, you do have to sacrifice a little bit, but you are able to find some sort of a balance. I want to take you back just a little bit. So we mentioned like there are highs and lows of med school and applying to med school. Are there any moments looking back and being reflective on your journey and being done with med school and getting ready for residency? Is there any moment that you think really taught you a lot about yourself as a medical student and as a doctor? Is there any moment that really, like, now you look back and you're thankful that you went through that because it really helped you become the doctor that you are today?
I think that for that one, I'd say probably my journey taking step one, which is the USMLE step one. Is the first board exam that you have to take in medical school after your first 2 years before you hit the hospital and do clinicals. Step one was probably the most challenging part of med school for me. Um, and for me, like, I've always known that, difficult times really facilitate growth. For me, being at that time was so difficult. It was isolating. We were still in the height of COVID and the pandemic. So being able to kind of push through that and really, one thing that you'll learn in medicine is that sometimes you have to be resourceful. You have to like really be resourceful for your patients because a lot of times they don't understand the hospital system. They don't understand how any of this works, and they're just kind of like they're scared, they're anxious. This is some of the most like challenging times in their lives. Having to come into the hospital, be admitted, and things of that sort. And as a doctor, you want to like successfully steward them through that process. And it's not just about their healing, which we will facilitate that as well. But you're also helping them navigate the very complex medical, medical healthcare industry. So just like really being resourceful was a big one. Really tapping into resources, people that really did well, and were successful. How did they go about it? Really leaning on mentors and utilizing their resources, and just kind of being adaptable in that moment when things are difficult, and kind of holding your head and knowing that hey, things are busy, things are difficult. I'm like studying a lot. The analogy to that is as a doctor, you'll be working a lot, but how do I stay afloat? How do still, I still have these patients to take care of. I still had that test to take, So I learned a lot from that step one study period, and I was able to apply a lot of those principles once I hit the floors, and I'll continue to apply that, in residency now as as a physician. So I think that, as difficult as some of those times may feel in the moment, the growth that you gain from it is significant, and it helps you when you face another challenge in the future. You'll be more equipped to handle that and push through.
There's this quote that someone said a few episodes ago, and he was like, I think he said the challenges mold us into our becoming. So the challenges that you go through in your past, they mold you and prep you to be the best for the task ahead of you. And it seems like your experiences have done just that for you. So that's really cool to see and really cool to hear. Let's be a little bit more, like reflective, and then I'll move on to the future. But now looking back on your journey, um I usually have to say this for the last question, but I think it's fitting now. I usually like to ask my guests to share a word of wisdom or advice or encouragement to the MD to be, someone who is applying to med school, someone who is thinking about applying to med school, but isn't as, I want to say the exact thing you said, but doesn't think they're as capable as you always knew that you are capable. Some may not
Mm,
think that they are capable. So to
yeah,
someone who is not sure if they are capable, what is a word of advice, encouragement, or motivation you can pass on to them?
yeah. I'd say that I've been there where you're doubting yourself and you don't know what the future holds. Because especially at that pre med process, sometimes it is difficult to realize, to know what the future holds, because there's no guarantees, of course. It kind of goes back to our conversation before, like kind of really having that belief in yourself, knowing that you are capable and you can do this. Medical school is difficult, but it's difficult because of the volume. So the pre med that's going through the process, just that you will be a future doctor and you have what it takes, you are capable. It starts from there. Try to start building up that self confidence, and it starts with the little things, positive reinforcement as you guys learn it. When you do one thing, really know that you're capable, and really look back to 2 years ago, a year ago. Where were you at then? And look at the progress that you've made, and really take a moment to clap for yourself when you accomplish things. Because things happen in stepwise fashion. For me, it started from the master's program, then getting involved and taking an MCAT. Things happen progressionally, and then you look back, and before you know it, you're hitting all your goals. So that's kind of how it happens. It may not all happen at once. So you have to be patient with the process, and just know that you are worthy, you are capable of doing this. And yeah, that's what I'd say, because I think that that's what I would have loved to hear back then, and I believe that you can do it.
That was brilliant. I needed to hear it today, so thank you. Um, that was great. Honestly, I needed to hear it today. I think for me, it happens in progressions. I definitely needed to hear that. So thank you for sharing that. I think lastly, you're starting a new chapter. There's a lot of new things, a lot of new experiences, a lot of new things happening for you, which is great. What is something that you're looking forward to and excited about in this new chapter of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of things to celebrate and be excited for. Of course, finally graduating. Cheers to that. It's been a journey. It's been challenging. It's been rewarding. It's been emotional. It's been a roller coaster. But we made it. I think going forward, I'll be beginning my residency in about a month or so, in physical medicine and rehabilitation. So I'll be moving to Houston, at UT Health Houston, for my residency program, and I'm excited to be going to a new city. I was raised in Jersey. I was born in Nigeria, but I was raised in Jersey since I was 3 years old. So I've always been here. Always been here. So Jersey's home. It's always gonna be home. Shout out to any Jersey heads out there. But it's exciting to be in a new city. I think that any type of big change like that is always going to facilitate growth, and I'm all about continual self development and growth, and going into a new environment and being able to challenge myself in that way. So I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a good move. I'm also looking forward to the challenge of residency, taking more ownership over patients, learning at a exponential rate. As a resident, having that doctor title, and being one of the leaders of the healthcare team, is going to be very important to really be on my p's and q's, and I think that is going to facilitate a ton of learning and growth as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to serving the community and helping each patient I encounter. So
That's beautiful. Well, from me to you and from everyone watching this episode, even if it's one person, even if it's 100,000, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. Thank you for taking the time to be vulnerable and to share your story and to share words of wisdom, words of encouragement, to be transparent and to just share your life with us today. We wish you the best on your journey on becoming. You already are, but there's a lot of newness for you. So that's really exciting. Good luck with that. God bless you. And honestly, best of luck.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it,
Thank,
Noma. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it.
thank you. Thank you, guys. All right. Thank you for watching the Met to Be. Have a wonderful day.